After climbing to 4,000 feet, Lieutenant Commander Meskjak and also Lieutenant Dolan will reposition the aircraft into a 1/2 cubic maneuver, roll upright, and demonstrate the Rhino's incredible pitch authority with a 60-degree nose-up maneuver. The Super Hornet is unique in its ability to operate at slow speeds and high angles of attack. The flight control computers allow the aircraft to precisely position it when and where the aircrew wants it. Observe now to the left as the aircraft rotates nearly 180 degrees while a nearly flat attitude in this maneuver aptly named the flat pirouette. The Super Hornet's engines produce over 44,000 pounds of thrust while an afterburner. This allows the aircraft to sustain 8 times the force of gravity in a very tight turn radius. Whether in a dogfight or avoiding surface-to-air threats, the ability of the Super Hornet to turn in a tight space gives it a tremendous tactical advantage. Inbound now from the left, it's the Rhino and the minimum radius turn. Completing the MRT, Mac and Mac will execute a vertical tail stand maneuver and proceed outbound as they stand this 40,000-pound jet right on its tail. Lieutenant Commander Meskjak and Lieutenant Dolan are now setting up for a high-speed pass. During this maneuver, the aircraft will approach speeds of nearly Mach 1, or the speed of sound. You may notice a buildup of white vapor around the fuselage as they flirt with the sound barrier. As Mac and Mac pass show center, they'll be traveling at a speed of nearly 700 miles per hour. Las Vegas on your feet from the right for some incredible noise on the Super Hornet high-speed pass. After the completion of an aileron roll, the crew is quickly performing a vertical reposition to bring the jet back towards the show line for their next maneuver. Entering this maneuver at 350 knots, the aircrew will pull the jet into the vertical and roll the canopy towards the crowd. Selecting full afterburner, they'll reach airspeeds approaching 220 miles an hour and perform a very enjoyable negative 3G pushover to set up for the vertical pirouette. As they pull the nose back up, watch as the aircraft swaps from nose high to nose low as they point the jet back towards the ground. The air crew is now setting up for a maneuver known as the square loop. Selecting afterburner as the jet reaches show center, the air crew will quickly reposition the nose some 4 times while flying a square path throughout the sky. From the left, the Super Hornet and the square loop. This next maneuver is an aircrew favorite as the Rhino approaches again from our right. Mac and Mac will accelerate the aircraft to about 250 miles an hour at a height of just 500 feet above the ground. Approaching show center, they'll then roll the aircraft inverted, reduce the power to idle, and hold a level attitude. From the right, for a maneuver they call the Ricardo, it is the inverted whisper pass. Lieutenant Commander Miskovjak and Lieutenant Doland are setting up now for a high alpha pass. This maneuver will showcase the incredible slow-speed characteristics of the Super Hornet. In air-to-air combat, sometimes the aircraft that flies the slowest has the best tactical advantage. Few other aircraft in the world would attempt a maneuver at such slow speeds and high angle of attack attitudes. With 2 flight control systems working together to aid the flight crew, this 40,000-pound Super Hornet remains completely controllable at less than 100 miles an hour. Mac and Mac will come through and demonstrate this high alpha or high angle of attack pass. During this maneuver, they'll be flying at just 120 miles an hour, holding a 25-degree nose-up position. From the left, the high alpha pass. Mac and Mac, it's Luke Carrico here on the ground. How slow can you go? Hey, Mac and Mac, it's Luke down here on the ground. We got you 5x5. Hey, Mac and Mac, it's Luke. We got you 5x5. Sorry about that. Exiting a maneuver now with a maximum muscle climb. They will roll the jet as where they work their way inbound for this, the pitch rate demo. The job of a naval aviator is not complete until the aircraft is back aboard its floating home. The approach to the aircraft carrier is often the most dangerous part of a naval aviator's mission. Landing the aircraft at 130 miles an hour, just a few hundred feet of floating steel, takes a great deal of concentration and effort by the crew. Often overflying the ship and executing a 180-degree reversal turn, they allow the aircraft to bleed speed and extend the landing gear and flaps, a method allowing aircraft to quickly be sequenced to the downwind leg of the landing pattern. In order to land on an area 1/10 the size of a normal runway, carrier aviators must touch down between 4 wires stretched across the deck of the ship. Power, power, wave off, bolter, bolter, bolter. Ladies and gentlemen, the Super Hornet that you have seen here today is actually one used to train pilots at Strike Fighter Squadron 122, based at Naval Air Station Lemoore in California. Mac and Mac serve as instructors, teaching new air crews how to employ the Super Hornet. At this time, get your cameras at the ready as the crew sets up now for the photo pass. The aircraft will pass show center in a 90-degree angled bank turn from their right at some 300 feet and 650 miles an hour. Ladies and gentlemen, from behind and to the right, the Super Hornet photo pass. It takes many talented and dedicated young men and women to maintain, fix, and fly these aircraft. Please help us thank the entirety of the Flying Eagles maintenance team and maintenance personnel here at the show today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you look out directly in front of you towards the mountains, you'll see a very nice air traffic control tower. And a high-speed sneak pass courtesy of the Flying Eagles from Strike Fighter Squadron 122. The Super Hornet is now repositioning for its final maneuver before recovery. A carrier approaching the ship at upwards of some 500 miles an hour, just 500 feet off the deck. They'll execute a reversal brake turn, bleeding the speed for the downwind leg of the landing pattern. Here's the Rhino and the carrier brake. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the entirety of the U.S. Navy, we thank you for the opportunity to demonstrate the flight characteristics and capabilities of the Boeing FA-18 Super Hornet. As they make their recovery, one final round of applause for Lieutenant Commander John Meskovac, callsign Mac, Lieutenant Robert Dolan, also callsign Mac, and today's performance by the FA-18 Super Hornet, the Rhino. Well, what do you think, Nellis Air Force Base? How'd you like that? Pretty awesome stuff from our United States Navy.
So this S16 is pretty much identical to when you're going to get in and watch. When they take off, 1 through 4 takes off together in a diamond. So they all 4 take off in line. Yeah. As soon as they're off the ground, number 4 will slide over under boss.
You could throw this on like a backpack that's in the push on it. Perfect. Yeah. All right, sir. Push down on that. Just make sure when you do it, you take it off on the right side. Breathe normally.
So I went to North Carolina for about 6 years, so 2 assignments back to back. You're on the team, 3rd show season, and I will be passing off the torch in about 2 months. Tear in your pocket. I think the left one is easier to get it out of than the right one.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, so there you show it. Look right.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so it'll be.
Yeah, you'll be moving up there. Yeah. This way he's talking about small holes. Basically like that full valve.
And then eventually you work your way up to show line.
Squeeze.
Chances are if you live or work here in Las Vegas, you've seen those red, white, and blue jets behind us more than once in the skies above the Spring Mountains. The U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds, America's premier air demonstration team, calls Nellis Air Force Base home. And this weekend during Aviation Nation, they also had a chance to honor one of Clark County's own with that Hometown Hero flight.
The Hometown Hero program recognizes individuals who make significant contributions to their community, embody the spirit of service and dedication. The Hometown Hero, chosen from dozens of applicants to ride in the back seat. It is not an easy thing to actually find yourself getting selected for. So where the Thunderbirds perform, they do it all across the country at all their shows. For Aviation Nation 2025, the Hometown Hero is Mr. Mike Nevada State Teacher of the Year for 2025. Mike?
I'm great. This is an amazing experience. It's been something else to be here today.
Tell us a little bit about when you're not riding in the backseat of jets. What is it that you do, Mike? Where do you teach?
I teach here in Clark County School District in the Advanced Technologies Academy. I teach high school mathematics, all subjects, all parts of the process.
Yeah, so the science, technology, engineering, math, as you probably already know, you're a teacher, I'm not, but so important, especially when it comes to things like, I don't know, flying big jets like the KC-46 that's just now taking off here. But what drew you in to teach?
Teaching for me is about people. It's always been about the relationships, and I love mathematics, and I love what I do. And as you say, as I was in that plane, in that jet, I was thinking about all the things that are going on at that time, both feeling it and experiencing it. But certainly, for me, it's been the connections and the people, and mathematics has been a part of that great journey. Yeah.
And when you talk about being in that jet, I'm interested to know two things. One, I want to know about the ride for sure. But two, I want to know what your students said when they found out that you were going to ride in a Thunderbird.
Well, they questioned whether I was thinking right about it, first of all. They wondered if it was the kind of thing I would be able to handle. But they were so excited. And when I returned back to school and showed them the pictures and the experience, they were just right there with me. It was so cool.
Absolutely. As we let the F-18 Hornet pass behind us here, just landed after the Rhino Tech Demo team. We heard, Dan and I are both parents of teenagers. And so, one, thank you for what you do. I don't know if I could do it, truly. And we know how hard it is to keep teenage boys specifically engaged. And I heard you have some innovative teaching methods. How do you kind of connect with your students?
Well, I think, you talk about teenage boys, but it's all groups, right? And at our school, even more so, we try to make a greater connection to our girl population, our females, is to connect STEM and mathematics and the things that I love and are a part of very important parts of our lives to connect to all of those students, right? But I do lots of things. The goal is to engage students, and I have a love of games and board games. I use gaming and game aspects in the classroom. But I don't just represent myself. I'm a part of a team, right? And there are many of us at ATEC and all throughout Clark County that are giving it their best, right? And so I recognize that part of my journey isn't just to represent myself. And I get to be in the play, but I represent many people who are doing those hard jobs, right? To make education meaningful for students and to change lives ultimately. And that's when you talk about a hometown hero, I don't feel that way. But when I think about what happens in the classroom, it's meaningful. It's life changing, and I change with them, which is what I love. Yeah.
That's so awesome. I mean, and you really are a role model. All teachers are role models. I still remember my 10th grade geometry teacher, Mr. Splitgerber, who I will say told me many days that I had some bad days at Black Rock. That was his phrase for you might want to try a little bit harder on the next test. But tell us about your day here with the Thunderbirds. What was that like?
Obviously there's the flight, but I was so impressed by the many people that worked with me throughout the day. I was surprised that, my flight's at 4 o'clock, but I'm here at 10 o'clock getting the early debriefings, and I got a sense of military precision. And I met with the doctor, I met with the pilot, I met with Flash, and many others who debriefed me at many stages. And I just saw the hard work of many military servicemen and women, and just was really appreciative of that. And honestly, people said, "Well, why would you want to do that?" And there was a naivety to me to just, wow, who wouldn't want to do this? And as I got closer, it got a little bit more stressful. But they definitely gave me lots of help, and it was a ride of a lifetime. It really was, yeah.
So I have to ask, would you do it again, do you think? Or was
Not
this
tomorrow,
a one-time?
Not tomorrow. But I would, boy. Well, first of all, as I spoke to people around the base and even with the Thunderbird teams, what I experienced, many of them didn't have even a chance to yet. And I recognized, in a population of many, I was a very rare person, and that was so special. And I would love to go again. Honestly, I would have a better idea what I was in for, and I might prepare a little bit differently. But it was amazing. It really was.
And a rare person indeed, because you are the 2025 Nevada State Teacher of the Year. Tell us a little bit about what that honor means to you.
Well, it was a surprise and just almost very overwhelming. I guess in the journey so far, I've felt that while it was given to me, I represent many people. And again, even just in the small population of my mathematics department of the school, I recognize many, many teachers put in long, hard hours on behalf of our families and our children. And I'm here to represent them and shout them out because of the great work that they do. But it was certainly special to be named that. And I have a year to celebrate teaching. It's something I love to do and promote a great profession. And I would say, part of part of it is finding the next teacher, right, to fill in and do the job. And when they see me maybe riding in a Thunderbird, they might think, hey, let's give that a shot, right?
So as you got exposure to the Air Force, what's maybe that message now you carry forward to your students about the role of science, technology, engineering, math in a career like the military?
No, I got a great, I got to see a lot of great things and experience some great things. And the message will go back. And we have many students who have entered the Air Force or Navy and other areas of the military. And, I'll be a greater voice for that. I see a power and a need and a great responsibility and great things happen here. And so I'm going to be part of the recruiting team as well. I think that's and have even more respect for it. Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Mr. Patterson. I hope that give it, a shout out to ATEC in Clark County School District.
Yeah.
And so just humbled by you being here with us today. And thank you again for everything that you do.
It'll never be the same when you look up in the skies and maybe see a Thunderbird roll by.
I walked out here today, and I felt very differently as I watched what was going on in the sky because I knew where that was happening. Yeah. So thank you so much, you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. And we are just a couple of hours away, really, from watching the Thunderbirds take to the sky, watching the KC-46 right now demonstrating a unique in-air refueling capability that only the U.S. Air Force has. And so we'll go back to Airboss and listen in. You're watching Aviation Nation 2025.
Back here at Aviation Nation, day number 2 here at Nellis Air Force Base. Dan Hawkins, Caitlin Jones-Martin. We just heard from Mike Patterson, the Nevada State Teacher of the Year last year, named earlier this year. But wow, so cool that he got to hang out with the Thunderbirds. We're going to see him in about a couple of hours from now here. Of course, the culminating act, if you will, of this air show. But we have another special guest with us today.
Absolutely. Joining us now here at the Broadcast Center is one of the hardest working airmen out here at Aviation Nation, Staff Sergeant George Amesquita, an Air Force recruiter from St. George, Utah. Sergeant Amesquita, thank you so much for dropping by.
Yeah, of course.
So tell us a little bit about what you do as an Air Force recruiter on a day-to-day basis.
So typically what we do as recruiting is going out to speak to the youth, whether they're qualified for service or not. Our age range is 17 to 42 years old, so anyone up under that, we're kind of planting that seed so they spark the interest of why they should be joining the Air Force in the first place.
Yeah, so I know there's probably a lot of reasons in the Air Force, but can you maybe talk about some of the biggest reasons that seem to matter today for why a young man or woman would want to join the Air Force?
Yeah, so as everyone knows, it's expensive to go to college, so that's probably our biggest sell point, right? We do have free college. We will give you tuition assistance so you can go whether in person, online, depending on your shift schedule. We also have the community college of the Air Force, so not all other services have that, so that's another advantage that we have to the other sister services. So that's a huge reason for why usually the youth will be interested to come in the first place. Ultimately, it's service, right? That's kind of another thing that is kind of hot right now. A lot of the applicants that I talk to is like, hey, I just want to serve my country. I've always, had a dream since I was a kid.
Yeah, when you talk about the people that are serving their country, 30% of the new recruits are actually military brats. 70% are reporting a family member in the armed forces. So I kind of want to speak to maybe somebody that doesn't have any affiliation with the military. Maybe they're just happen to be watching the show today on airforce.com streaming live. And what would you kind of say if they have just no idea at all about the Air Force? What would you kind of tell them to maybe get them interested in looking further?
Yeah, so the first thing is we always got to get to know the applicant. That's the biggest sell point. If we don't know them, we can't really help them. So to question on what their goals are, whether they're professionally, financially, whatever they want to accomplish in life, then we can give them a benefit that will directly support what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so there's a lot of probably misconceptions out there. I mean, there's got to be at least a couple myths. So let's do a little myth busting. Maybe what are the top 3 myths about serving in the Air or Space Force that you hear a lot?
So everyone wants to be a pilot. So everyone comes in, they want to go straight into flying these amazing aircraft. But the only challenge with that is they're either straight out of high school, don't have the qualifying requirements to accomplish that. So not everyone in the Air Force is a pilot. We don't all fly. Not all of us directly work with aircraft. There's, supporters of the med group, civil engineers, other careers that we have that a lot of people don't really notice. That we have the same thing in the civilian world. Base will have that same job.
Yeah, and there's lots of information on airforce.com, but there's also a phone app. So I know the Aim High phone app. Can you tell us a little bit about what that does for somebody that's maybe interested in joining the Air or Space Force?
Yeah, so there's a lot of resources on the Aim High app. It's where you can put in a direct application. It'll get notified to the local recruiter that's assigned to your zip code, and then from there they'll reach out to you. It gives you a lot of different opportunities to look at some of the jobs that we have, some really good resources on getting prepared for boot camp. So all of our recruits and trainees will have that application downloaded, and that's kind of how they smooth line the process to actually go into BMT.
Obviously, right now, recruiting seems to be doing well, right? We're on our way to meeting goal, the delayed enlistment program, but we could always use new people to talk to. So what is the best way to get in touch with a recruiter? Because, always going to maybe a brick and mortar store location isn't always the best. So what's your answer to that?
Yeah, it's kind of tough, right? So we don't have very many recruiters out in the field right now, so it is hard to get a hold of us. We're either out of school or going to visit with an applicant somewhere, training that we have to do. So popping by into our office isn't always the best thing to do. I mean, we may be there, we may not. Just depends on our schedule. But the Aim High app, it'll go straight to our notification system. That'll go straight to our database. We'll be able to reach out to you. Or Google us. Just shoot us a text. It might not be responded right away, but we will get back to you whenever we have that chance.
And you told me off air that you work an area that covers 50,000 square miles.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible. So when you think about it, you have so many places to be at once, and you can't clone yourself. And just talking to you, Sergeant Amesquita, I'm thinking about my own recruiting experience. I was from an area that didn't have a large military presence. So shout out to my recruiter, Sergeant Daryl Riley, who had no idea what he was going to do with me, and then was like, hey, I think I know a job that you'd be good at, right? So recruiters, really just an unsung hero, not a lot of love given to recruiters. So what is it like for you? How do you prioritize what you're going to do in a day with so much ground to cover? As we pause for the Combat Arms demo taken off, something unique only here to Nellis.
Yeah, so we mainly prioritize based off of what jobs they are interested in doing.
The sound of freedom.
Right now, the biggest struggle that we are having is not having enough BMT and tech school slots. So because of that, our wait period to actually go to boot camp is getting a little bit longer. So if the applicant is wanting to do one of our high-need AFSCs, that will expedite the process for them. Those are going to be our special warfare, cyber warfare, our 2 alphas, anything that puts the in the sky, right, our maintain forces. We need defenders for each and every one of our bases. So those are kind of the one jobs that can expedite, getting to boot camp sooner. The applicants, they flood in. So the kind of management that we do is based off of that and how eager they are ready to go, based off of how we can get them into the office as soon as we can to do the paperwork to get them to MEPS.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Airforce.com if you want more information on joining the Air Force.
Aim High phone app as well. Download that, and we are going to take a look at the Combat Air demo, Combat Arms demo, taking off right here at Aviation Nation.
My favorite maneuver would definitely be the Delta Burst. I just like when they're all coming at you and then they just split apart in different directions. Smoke looks really cool to me.
Watching the Delta Burst from the ground, especially if you're right at Shift Center, is something that's really amazing.
Thunder confirmed it. Mission completed. Roger.
So I would say it happened for me, one of my first shows as number 7, walking into our ops briefing room building, and there was a gentleman, a police officer. He was kind of supplement security team to help with just air show security that weekend. And he was kind of guarding the door, just kind of doing his patrol. And, you know, it was the morning, so I had a coffee in my hand. I was like, well, I'll just stop by, say hi, a couple minutes. Like, that's, in fact, why we're there, is just to, like, you know, integrate, immerse ourselves, meet with the locals. So we were having a chat and talking about it. He's like, hey, we're super excited the Thunderbirds are here. Like, really looking forward to air show. And, you know, the conversation started off, like, very just superficial, top level, like weather, how long are you guys in town for, where's your next show? But then just, you know, a couple minutes, 5-10 minutes later, we started talking. I was like, hey, do you have any family coming out? Because I was like, I'd love to, like, give you guys some tickets if you want to have them come out to the show. And he was like, actually, like, my wife and little kid. And I was like, oh, sweet, kid, like, automatic, cool. Hey, here's some pins and stickers. So I reached in my show fly bag, gave him the pins, and then, you know, nice greeting, said goodbye, and then went up to the briefing room to get ready for the day. Didn't really think much of it, like, other than, hey, that was a cool conversation with the police officer, and then went on with my day. Fast forward now to Sunday at the air show. I'm in the autograph line, signing brochures, and all of a sudden, like, the adults kind of, the sea of adults parts, and there's a little guy standing there, and I noticed he has a Thunderbird pin. And I was like, no way. And then there's a lady standing behind him, and she's like, Flash, this is Timmy, because the gentleman I was talking to, the police officer, he had mentioned his son's name was Timmy, and he had the Thunderbird pin that I gave his dad. And so I was like, cool. I just, like, Heisman to everybody else. He's like, Timmy, come here, buddy. So I kneeled down, gave him a high five, asked him how his day was doing, how he liked the show. And then I was like, hey, do you have a brochure? Would you like me to sign it? And so I signed that. I think I signed a hat for him too. And we were just chatting it up, kind of just the world stopped because I was like, oh, dude, this is the kid's or the guy's son that, I was talking to. And I was like, sweet, definitely just want to dedicate some time to him. So we had a nice interaction, said hi to mom. And then, they disappeared into the sea of crowd, kept signing autographs and brochures. And that was what I thought was the end of it. Well, now as we are the next day getting ready to depart, leaving McCord, I see his dad. I was like, hey, sir. I was like, good to see you. I was like, yeah, I ran into your son, Timmy. And there's something different about him. And he was very just kind of somber, but not in like a bad way. He's like, Lieutenant Colonel White, I just want to talk to you for a sec. I was like, yeah, what's up, buddy? He's like, I just want you to know that, like, that was amazing what you did yesterday. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, you just took the time, talked to my son, Timmy. I was like, oh, that's why we're here. Recruit, retain, inspire. That's what it's about. And he's like, no. He's like, you don't understand. He's like, my son, he's like, he's on the spectrum. He just loves Air Force jets, anything fast. And he's like, the fact that you took the time just to, like, kneel down, spend some time, acknowledge him. He's like, he hasn't stopped talking about that interaction. I was like, fantastic. I was like, that's super humbling to hear. I was like, thank you so much. He's like, no, honestly, he's like, I want you to have this. And he hands me his knife that he has had ever since, like, day one on the workforce. I was like, sir, absolutely, I cannot do this. He's like, Flash, he's like, you took care of the most important thing to me in my life. He's like, this is the least I can do to say thank you. And so he handed me that knife, and I forever have it. It's sitting on my pedestal in my wardrobe on the shelf there, and that's what I look at every time I'm going in to, like, get dressed for work, just as a reminder, like, that's why we do this, is to have impact like that. Something as it's going on, it maybe seemed like a 10-minute conversation, a quick 5-minute conversation with a little kiddo, but it's much more than that. It's a lasting impact. It's inspiring, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Across the nation. How about a big round of applause for our air boss, Kelly Hudson? It is now time that we turn things over to Stephen Covington, and to tell you all about it, please welcome the voice of SRC Air Shows, Mr. Alan Mitchell.
Thank you, Luke. Ladies and gentlemen, look low and to your right. Making a lot of smoke down there is the man in the muscle biplane Pitts S2S Fury. That is Stephen Covington from Longview, Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, move to the crowd line. It's about to get wild. The Fury's knife-edge takeoff with Stephen Covington behind the controls. He's going to climb out and reposition that aircraft and get ready, because it's going to get low, fast, and wild right here at the Aviation Nation Air Show. Like Luke was saying just a minute ago, he's inside the aerobatic box. You're going to see him fly a half-pipe routine. When he gets to the end of the box, he's going to pull up, gain a little bit of altitude, or in this case, he's just going to do a hard turnaround out to the left. Use every bit of that AEIO 540 engine stuffed inside that machine. Come right back down the show line, pull up on the 45. Watch him go to the left, and now snap it back to the right. Now the nose comes down and the airspeed comes up. This Pitts is number 11 of only 17 factory-built S2S aircraft. Watch the hard turn out there. That's about 6 times the force of gravity slamming him down to the seat right there. Coming over for the 4-point hesitation roll. This was a purpose-built aerobatic aircraft. In the 60s and 70s, they dominated aerobatic competitions across the world. Today, the Edge 540 and the Extra 300, they've kind of taken the scene, those aerobatic monoplanes. Watch these stands on the rudder pedal right here. That is the hammerhead turnaround. Now he's going to snap it on the down line. One more time, the airspeed coming up. As you he brings it back to show center. No air show would be complete without the big, huge Barnstormers loop. Watch as he pulls that machine up over the sky. He's hanging off the harness right now. The first half of this show we call the basics. These are all aerobatic maneuvers that you might learn when you first start aerobatic training or competition. A quick turnaround by Stephen Covington. Watch as he pulls that nose right back up into the sky, right off the deck, right there. Rolling it over on the 45. But this aircraft isn't all about snappy maneuvers. It's also about precision. Watch as Stephen Covington brings the pits back around for the super slow roll. He's going to climb up for a few seconds and cool off that AIO 540 engine, and they're going to bring it back for the more wild, a little bit of uptick for the second half of the show. But right now, I want every one of you to get out your phones and go to SRC Air Shows on your favorite social media platform and give us a like, because that's how we make money in this business. We don't do it flying air shows. But our sponsors see that stuff, and they like it, and they give us money so we can leave Texas every once in a while. Stephen wasn't raised around aviation. He actually fell in love with it as a kid while watching the movie Tora, Tora, Tora. He took an aerobatic ride at his local airport, and try as he might, the pilot tried to shake him and could not rattle the young man. Stephen knew what he wanted to do with the rest of his life, and in 2001, he earned his wings, got his aerobatic certifications, and he starts way up high, over 800 feet, just like all of our aerobatic performers do, and he works his way down. He has what's known as a surface level waiver, and he's not afraid to use it. He can do aerobatics all the way down to the ground. He's also the owner of East Texas Muscle Cars in Longview, Texas. They do everything from dyno tuning all the way to full custom rebuilding. Check them out online at easttexasmusclecars.com. Right now, we're looking high in the sky for 3 puffs of smoke that'll let us know that Stephen's ready. There's 1. Look high and to your right. That's 2. And 3. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen's ready. Aviation Nation, are you ready? Here we go. Spinning back down into your lives with the triple nickel. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Stephen Covington, SRC Air Shows and the Fury. Watch, he comes screaming back into the aerobatic box, right down off the deck. That is a 9G pull right there. He actually broke his G meter on that. He's going to pull way up into the vertical, hang it off that whirlwind propeller for Charlie Hillard's torque roll. Chopping the power, sliding back down through his own smoke, and we're just getting started. Listen to the sound of that thing screaming through the sky. Once again, right down off the deck. Now he's going to pull up and reposition the aircraft. Watch, he's going to pull all the way up into the invert. Over the top, hanging off the harness. He's going to bring it back to show center. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of his favorite maneuvers, simply called the blender. What do you think of that, Aviation Nation? Who wants to go for a ride with Stephen Covington? Well, you can't because there's only one seat in that airplane. Once again, pulling up on that 45-degree upline. Here he goes, ripping, flipping, and tumbling through the skies over Nevada. There are many aircraft in the world that are designed to hover. Helicopters mainly, but there are a few fixed-wing aircraft. This is not one of them. But right now, Stephen Covington is going to attempt to stop the Fury in the sky. There we go, ladies and gentlemen, the Fury hover. In the first half of the show, he showed us that big Barnstormer's loop. Now he's going to reposition, bring it back to show center, and show us the minimum radius or micro loop. Now, as long as I've known this guy, I've never really understood his next maneuver. At one point, he said it was dedicated to all of his ex-girlfriends back in Texas. I'm not real sure what he meant by that, but I don't know. Maybe you can help me figure it out. Little snap at the top. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Longview Broken Heart. Once again in the first half, he showed you the hammerhead turnaround. Now he's going to keep his foot on the rudder pedal, spin that aircraft around not once, but twice. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the double hammerhead. Now you've seen him rip, you've seen him flip, you've seen him tumble across the sky. But here momentarily, he's going to change altitude for airspeed, build it up, bring it back to show center, and tumble on the upline. Here comes the Fury and the vertical tumble. This next maneuver is his absolute favorite. Watch, he pulls back up into that Immelman maneuver. He's going to pull up, back up over the top, hold it inverted, get ready. Right about now, he's slamming that stick forward for the e-brake turnaround. Another quick maneuver change. Now he's going to come back up on the 45 and hold on. Bringing that tail over that whirlwind propeller. What a heck of a ride in the Pitts S2S Fury. Watch, he comes down the show line and then back up in the skies with the knife edge climb. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you've not yet done so, get your cameras ready. Stephen Covington's going to bring the Fury down the show line one more time for a photo pass. Here he comes right now over your right shoulder. Ladies and gentlemen, SRC Air Shows presents the Fury. And once again, we want to see all of the amazing photographs you shot today. Go to srcairshows.com and share those with us. We also want to thank the amazing people who made it possible for us to bring the Fury to you. Flying Eye Sunglasses, Wheelan Aerospace Technologies, AC Air Tech, Hartzell Engine Tech, SkyTech, Power Up Aircraft Ignition Systems, Soft Parachutes, Alcor, Concorde Batteries, Tempest, and point-to-point navigation provided by iFly GPS. Ladies and gentlemen, for Stephen Covington and SRC Air Shows, hold on, we're not done just yet, Luke. There's one more thing you're not going to see anywhere else in the world today or in any other aircraft that flies today. Every aircraft that flies out here has to fly a downwind base and final. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, Stephen Covington is inverted on his downwind leg. Pulling up into the vertical, this is his base leg. Do not try this in Grandpa's Cessna. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Fury's tail slide to land. As he brings that aircraft down and sets it down gently as possible from 1,500 feet. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, for SRC Air Shows and Stephen Covington, my name is Alan Mitchell. It has been our pleasure to be here with you at Aviation Nation. Luke Carrico, back to you.
Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it all the way up and down the line for Stephen Covington, and let that extend to the voice of SRC Air Shows, Mr. Alan Mitchell. Incredible flying. Well, right now, we want you to keep your heads on a swivel because we're about to reenact a scenario, and we want to give you a heads up about that. You might hear some loud kabooms. You're going to see some pyrotechnics, but what we do know is that it's going to be awesome. And it's coming up next as we prepare for our combined arms demonstration, and we await the cue to present this impressive display of air power that is
part of the 2nd Audio Visual Squadron based out in Hill Air Force Base, Utah. Right now we're at Aviation Nation at Nellis Air Force Base. Right now I got my favorite treat, a churro. Let's find out what the Thunderbirds' favorite meals are.
I'm a big believer, like when we travel, to eat at the local mom and pop places. Like I don't want to go to chain restaurants, especially if we have it in Vegas, because Vegas has so many chain restaurants that it's just super important to me to like support the local places when we travel.
Las Vegas has some of the best food I've ever had in my life. So the one thing that I get every time I come back is pizza from my favorite pizza shop in Vegas. And that is my return from home. I don't have anything in my fridge, and I just need something, and then I get enough that I can have it for breakfast the next day and still enjoy it. So there are like a ton of great places across the country. I'm a huge foodie, so I'm all about it. But man, just coming home to that slice that I want is absolutely the best.
Favorite food would be either sushi. Whenever we're traveling on the road, I always look for a good sushi place. Or my mom's molasses cookies. Those are my 2 favorite foods.
Oh man, favorite food, French fries. That's my go-to. The cool thing about French fries, you can get them anywhere you go, so it makes fitting into the show suit a little bit harder, but I'm a sucker for some French fries.
Tamales, probably my favorite. We usually make those around Christmas, and it's just like a experience. You get your whole family together around the table and just making those, and then you get to enjoy them after a couple hours.
Favorite food? That's an easy question for me. Anything chocolate. So it does not matter if it's like chocolate. Yo, good to go. Chocolate and peanut butter, best combo ever. Sign me up. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, can't go wrong.
There's a steak in a hotel, and hotel food is usually not the best, but there was a hotel that we stayed in Canada 2 years ago, and I have not forgotten about that steak in 2 years. It was great.
Like any kind of food, but ramen would probably be my favorite one. If not ramen, it would be pozole, which is a Mexican soup, so yeah.
My favorite food, I always try to go to Olive Garden. A lot of people don't like Olive Garden and say it's not real Italian food, but every time I go there, I get the same thing. The rigatoni with 5 cheese marinara, and then the crispy chicken Frita on that. It's the best thing in the world, and I get it every single time, no matter what.
I have to give it to my grandma. She still makes the best food. I don't care what anyone says. But it was albóndigas with a little bit of rice and beans. Just nice, simple meal, and it just fills you up. And just the thing of it being homemade just always hit the spot.
I love salsa and chips. And salad, believe it or not. I eat a lot of salad. It's like I would eat that for every meal for the rest of my life if I could, which is weird, because it's salad.
I like any and all types of food everywhere we go, but I'm gonna have to say my favorite meal is my mom used to make king crab for it was Christmas Eve dinner. So she'd make this king crab, and you get a baked potato, and it was just mounds of king crab, and that's my favorite meal. That's my go-to.
These Air Force Pararescue Men, or PJs, are the only DoD elite combat forces specially organized, trained, equipped, and postured to perform personnel recovery, or PR, to include both conventional and unconventional combat rescue operations. The PJ's primary function are that of personnel recovery specialists with emergency medical capabilities in humanitarian and combat environments. PJs deploy in any available manner to include land, air, and sea tactics into restricted environments to authenticate, extract, treat, stabilize, and evacuate injured personnel while acting in an enemy-evading recovery role. The majority of pararescue men fall under the traditional rescue squadrons of Air Combat Command, and a small number of PJs are assigned to the Air Force Special Operations Command, or AFSOC, and are vital members of the Special Tactics Team leading personnel recovery operations for U.S. Special Operation Command forces. High and overhead, our 4 PJs work their way inbound to their landing zone to help treat our simulated wounded individual. Often as part of these high-altitude, high-opening jumps, PJs will utilize supplemental oxygen flying packs that can be at times weighing in at over 120 pounds. This can include weapons, communication radios, and other equipment. And once they are firmly on the ground, they are ready to conduct the mission in order to treat the wounded individuals. Working their way down from altitude, a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our PJs successfully working their way into their landing zone. as our PJs have safely worked their way in to the landing area to treat the injured simulated survivors and individuals of this simulated battle. High overhead, enemy aircraft are pushing inbound. With the enemy aggressor force high overhead, they continue to take over this friendly airfield. Friendly ground forces are forced to take cover. And as they face the threat of being overrun and losing their position, the friendly forces have called in air support from the world's preeminent air power, the United States Air Force. In response to the enemy air attacks, the F-22 Raptor air superiority fighters launched to intercept the enemy aircraft. The F-22's a fifth-generation air combat fighter flies to intercept the enemy aircraft as they seek to chase off or engage and intercept and neutralize the aggressors. As you will witness in this next pass, the pilot's air combat skills will be put to the test as they engage two enemy fighters before your very eyes. Utilizing superior aircraft performance and unmatched pilot training, the adversaries are no match for the U.S. Air Force's F-22 Raptors. The Raptor pilots have successfully neutralized the enemy aircraft, and they've achieved their goal, air superiority. With this established, the friendly forces enjoy freedom of movement throughout the sky. However, the tactical situation on the ground is still challenging as the enemy continues to engage friendly troops to the east side of the airfield. The Air Force Tactical Control Party Joint Terminal Attack Controller will utilize U.S. Air Force air interdiction and close air support aircraft to neutralize enemy ground forces and turn the tide of battle. The JTAC works with the ground forces commander to understand the tactical battle situation and then communicates with the supporting aircraft to utilize their sensors and weapons to protect those friendly forces, as well as find, fix, and engage enemy combatants and their equipment. Watch closely now as the battle unfolds. Two F-15E Strike Eagles and two A-10 Warthogs check in with the JTAC, ready to provide close air support to the friendly ground forces on the airfield. Enemy forces are advancing onto friendly positions, and the ground troops are under heavy fire. The JTAC quickly relays the situation to the pilots inbound, and they immediately spring into action. The formations above are equipped with several communication radios, multiple targeting systems, defensive sensors, and nearly 30,000 pounds of combined ordnance. These highly trained aviators will provide armed overwatch and CAS to the friendly ground forces. While the A-10s continue to conduct their close air support attacks, F-35 and F-16 multi-role fighters check into the JTAC's airspace. Tasked with providing air superiority, interdiction, and suppression of enemy air defenses, the F-16s and F-35 support the air superiority from enemy fighters and enemy surface-to-air missile systems. On the A-10's previous attack, the enemy ground forces attempted to engage the low-flying A-10 with a surface-to-air missile. The A-10 defended against the missile with flares and departed the threat area unfazed. It's now up to the F-16s to find, fix, and neutralize, along with the F-35s, the enemy missile launcher before it can fire again. The aircraft utilizes advanced sensors and weapons, and the aircraft plan their attack. The coordinated attack is effective and the enemy missile launchers are struck, but some systems remain. The F-35 and F-16 sensors detect another SAM system and they set up for a re-attack. Despite having established air superiority, Air Force aircraft must always remain vigilant to enemy fighter aircraft potentially making the intercept. As the F-16s again engage the ground forces, the enemy fighters, the aggressors, make their move. Bore 1-1 and Bore 1-2 push inbound, utilizing the impressive GAL 8 Avenger Gatling gun. Targets are neutralized. Earlier in our battle, the PJs have stabilized the wounded in action, but the casualties need to be evacuated to a higher level of medical care. In this battle, the JTAC requests rescue from the HH-60 helicopters and escorting fighter aircraft to facilitate the medical evacuation of the simulated wounded personnel, as well as the pararescue team on the ground. The mission rescue commander organizes the forces, determines the game plan to pick up these injured personnel. Prior to the pickup, the JTAC mission commander and the strikers will work together to neutralize any and all remaining enemy threats to ensure a safe passage for the rescue team. Escorted by the A-10s and the F-15Es, the rescue helicopters ingress to the casualty pickup point. The rescue helicopters work their way to the established helicopter landing zone to land and pick up the friendly wounded ground forces and the PJ team. After all of the injured friendly ground force members are safe in the helicopter, the HH-60 crew makes a call to the rescue mission package, and they egress the area with the fighters escorting above. With all enemy forces now effectively neutralized, the HH-60s and the PJ team can now enjoy freedom of movement over their airfield. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for your Air Force combat airmen. Over the course of the next few minutes, you will see the diverse array of participating aircraft of this combined arms demonstration recover here to Nellis Air Force Base. Dissimilar formations of 5 different types of aircraft, each with their own unique mission capabilities, will approach, representing the 422 Test and Evaluation Squadron. You will see the A-10 Warthogs, the F-15E Strike Eagles, F-35 Lightning IIs, F-16 Fighting Falcons, and the F-22 Raptors as they approach in close formation. They'll be followed by the 2 F-16s from the 64th Aggressor Squadron. Today's combined arms demonstration will conclude with a pass and review by the 2 HH-60 helicopters and their pararescue team on board, assigned to that of the 88th Test and Evaluation Squadron. None of what you have seen here today would be possible without the continued support and partnership of this community and its citizens. These are just some of the normal operations that occur every day right here in your own backyard at Nellis Air Force Base and the Nevada Test and Training Range, the world's premier proving ground for air, space, and cyberspace lethality, where the mission is develop airmen and advanced warfighter capabilities through testing, training, and tactics development to dominate the multi-domain fight. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 2025 Aviation Nation Combined Arms Demonstration, and we hope you've enjoyed this effort to showcase just a few of the wide-ranging combat capabilities of the U.S. Air Force and air combat power of Nellis Air Force Base. If you have further questions about Air Force combat air power, we encourage you to stop by the static displays of our aircraft and meet with your U.S. Air Force aviators. It's your engagement that makes events like these truly special. The aircraft participating as part of today's Combined Arms Demonstration are now sequencing to land as they now on initial from our right for runway 03 right. You will get the opportunity to see each of the aircraft as they come by in this overhead break as they pitch to land. First in from the right, our simulated aggressors, that of the 64th Aggressor Squadron, the F-16 Fighting Falcons. They are followed by the F-22 Raptor Air Superiority Fighters. We recognize the efforts of Captain Mike Basic, Evaluation Squadron A-10 test pilot and division commander for spearheading this year's Combined Arms Demonstration. The United States Air Force Weapons School, recently celebrating their 75th anniversary, has been on the cutting edge of technological advancements, tracing its roots to the Aircraft Gunnery School, established here back in 1949. It continues to support great deals of efforts, including that also of the on-station red flag and green flag held here at Nellis, and one of the latest combat exercises series conducted, Operation Bamboo Eagle, testing forces in a combat representative environment. Again, the demonstration that you have seen here today, just a brief look at what happens here daily at Nellis Air Force Base and within the Nevada Test and Training Range. Next into the initial from the 422 Test and Evaluation Squadron, more F-16 Fighting Falcons. An aircraft type just this past year celebrating its 50th anniversary. As our aircraft recover, on runway 03 left. They will make their way past the crowd, again giving you a good close-up look at many of the combat assets based right here in Nellis. Inbound of the break, high and overhead, here's the F-35A Lightning IIs. Followed by the Mud Hens, the F-15E Strike Eagles. One of the most impressive combat air power demonstrations you will see any place. How about another big round of applause for our Nellis Air Force Base airmen? Last into the break from the right, an aircraft that soon is to be retired, as all good things do come to an end. They are the A-10 Thunderbolt IIs, affectionately known as the Warthogs, an aircraft that has been serving as part of the United States Air Force since the 1970s and soon to be retired by the end of 2029. The A-10 capable of shooting rounds the size of Coke bottles at some 70 rounds a second. It's essentially just the final evolution of throwing a rock at someone. The A-10 Thunderbolt II specializing in that of close air support and combat search and rescue, CAS and CSAR. And they'll be making their recovery momentarily as well. Again, a great photo opportunity as our aircraft make their way down the line in front of you. Be sure to remember to hashtag Aviation Nation on all of your social media posts. A great taxi passed in review of these aircraft led by the 64th aggressors, the F-16s. They certainly will not be able to hear you with the engines going and the canopies closed, but the pilots, they can see you, so be sure to wave your hands and your hats up high in appreciation for that spectacular demonstration for us here today.